Nick Rose here again with Jeff. Just shooting. We just shot arms today. Just kind of had some fun. Just messed around. Did a bunch of fluffy stuff. Nothing hardcore. Just had some fun. Usually don't do arms normally by themselves, but said Jeff and I are gonna hang out tonight. Go see some Star Wars with some friends, and so gotta get the pump. So when we show up, we look huge and awesome. I got my really tight shirt waiting for me. No, so just decided to hit a quick video. Jeff was out here, so yeah, today was just kind of easy peasy and fun.
So what did you do, David?
I'm trying to remember everything we did. I kind of was just picking stuff that was nearby and was easy for us to shoot. I think we started with, we just supersetted some rope extensions with, cable rope extensions with straight bar cable curl. Just did a ton of sets. Coming at the end of my off season, so I'm kind of beat up. My elbows are tender. Well, my left elbow's been tender for about 3 months. That thing hasn't got any better. And then the last couple weeks, my radial brachialis on my forearm has been really tender. Like even like picking up a jug of water, I'm like, ugh, hurts. So we started real light and just did higher reps and just kept progressing until things warmed up. You kind of see whole workout today. Try to keep the reps weren't crazy heavy, and they weren't. It wasn't like a low rep range either. Everything I did was smooth. I didn't do anything explosive just because I didn't want to have a quick change of direction and put extra stress on my connective tissue and my tendons because they're hurting. So even on the heavier stuff like close grip bench, I just pressed real smooth because I didn't want to injure myself. So we did a bunch of those on the cables. And then we went to dips, like a hammer strength dip, and like a cable crossover tower, like front double bicep curl. I don't really have a name for them, but really? No, huh? Yeah, I just stand.
I swear to God, like.
I'll probably never ever call them that. So. But. No, I just stand in the middle and kind of just pretend I'm doing like hitting a front double bi like in my pose for on stage. So, I don't picture myself being Hercules or Superman while I'm doing them. So, kind of weird. But so the hammer strength it felt good on my elbow because anything I do pressing feels fine on my elbow. Anything I do extension hurts on my elbow. It hurts on the tip of the elbow, like where the tendon wraps around, and extends your elbow. So it kind of hurts on the lower arm part of the elbow. So pressing feels fine. Extensions hurt. So I went a little heavier on the dips. Did the 3 quick sets on there. I didn't want to take up the equipment. It was actually kind of busy in here for a Sunday, so I try not to, in us supersetting, I don't like taking up a bunch of equipment. So I just kind of hit those. I saw some people eyeballing the cable crossovers. So I just did those and then got out of the way. Then I think we came back into this room, and then I focused on supersetting 2 bicep movements instead of a bi-tri. And we did machine preacher with another machine preacher, but a pronated machine preacher where your arm is more out, extended in front of you. So most reps today, sometimes I got up to 15, 20 on like tricep stuff, and then on my curls I kept around 10, 12-ish. I did progressing sets of 10, progressive weight sets of 10, I think on these 2 machine preachers. And then usually on the last set or 2, you'll see in the video, I would just kind of make it up on the go. I'd either finish with partials or finish with a drop set. Just, add that extra intensity at the end. But I just kind of threw it in as I went. I didn't really have a strategy for it. I always try to make my last set the most intense set. So we would throw those in at the end. And then from there, I went and did, since I did 2 bicep movements, I went and did 2 tricep movements. I did close grip bench on the Smith, supersetted with like a yeah. I mean, if you look at like all the old Arnold pictures or the old school stuff, it's kind of like a skull crusher, like behind the head, a tricep extension, but you're just kind of leaning against the bar on the Smith, and then going behind your head for a good stretch, and then a good extension. And you could use just your body weight for a resistance, or I'll use my legs and I'll push into the weight or push into the bar and manually adjust my resistance. I like to kind of press against it a little bit through the range of motion, so I have a consistent resistance through the range of motion. Just because you are just lifting your body, if you just push, you'll have less resistance at like the very top. So I'll push against it to make sure it's smooth all the way through. Get a good stretch, good flex, and just keep it smooth. It adds to a good time under tension. So around 8 to 10, it really starts to burn a bit. They don't look too hard, but you're feeling pretty good. They're nothing crazy intense, but it's a good movement after something more intense like the close grip bench. So we did like 3, 4, let's see, 1, 2, 3. I think we did 4 sets on there. First one was like almost like a lighter warm up, so kind of a work set, and then we did like 3 heavier sets progressing. And then we just did one last combination of work for the bi and tri. I did like stretching movements for both. So basically, my last movements were working the muscle in the stretch position. So I did like an incline dumbbell curl. I just leaned against the preacher bench, facing reverse, because all the other incline benches were taken up, and I wanted to stay close to the cables, because then I jumped straight from there into like behind the head cable extension with the ropes. I think there was higher rep, like 15 or more, because even the way our cable stack is even with the whole stack on there, it's not crazy heavy, because it's like a bunch of pulleys on there, so the pulleys kind of increase the mechanical advantage of the whole system, so it actually isn't as heavy as it looks. Sometimes I'll throw a plate on there with another pin if I want to go heavy, but not today. I just kind of did what I felt was good with what I had. And we just did 3, 4 sets of that. Like I said, I wasn't counting a whole lot on reps or sets today. Just got a good feel, good pump. Went hard-ish on some things, but it's just kind of a free-for-all day to kind of come in here and get good work, but without stressing about killing it.
Now, your arms were one of your body parts you were bringing up, but which they do seem to come up. I don't know, they're like 20 an hour or something like that.
Almost, not yet. I wish.
They're at what, 30? No.
Yeah, they're almost there. Not yet.
So what'd you do, bud, to bring them up like this past off season?
Yeah, I feel like since my previous shows in like 2013, when I took from 2013 until my next show, which was 2015. The time in between there, I think, is when they improved the most. Which, if I look back on my pictures, like not just the size, but really, I feel like they really rounded out. Like I got more swoop to my tricep and kind of got that more belly flow look to my arms compared to those 2 years. And I think what helped the most was I don't know, just that. But in between there is when I really started following like Mountain Dog stuff, and I followed his methods, which was like pretty much supersetting arms and just filling the entire arm up, the bi and tri, just getting as full as possible. Doing that with intensity techniques and stuff. I feel like I just really focusing on squeezing and getting them full. I don't go crazy heavy on much of it. I feel like your back movements and your chest days are like kind of like your heavy compound stuff, or the arms, where then you have like your dedicated arm work, which I feel should be more isolated, more controlled. So on arm days, I don't do a lot of compound stuff like dips, or I'll have them in there, but I don't do a lot of it. So I feel like really filling up those muscles. They're And then finishing, when they're real full, I feel like what helps a lot too is finishing with working the muscle in a stretch position, like very intensely. You can still go very intense without going very heavy. And I think that's what I'm trying to say is like what helped a lot is not just doing too much fluff stuff, but going intense and going hard, but you don't have to be slinging weight. Just make it focused. Yeah, focus where you want it, and grit through some pain and do intensity techniques, drop sets, supersets. Like I said, I've supersetted arms all the way through. So these last few years, sometimes it'll be a couple bicep movements in a row, a couple tricep movements in a row, or sometimes it'll alternate. But I feel like that has helped me a lot. But I think, as far as I know, it's like a lot of what John does in his Mountain Dog stuff. And now working with Ken, well, naturally Ken does what, the Mountain Dog stuff, which I followed for a while because his coach is John Meadows. So as I've said before, that's why it's been such a good fit, because I've already been training and following that style, and that's Ken's way now since that's his coach. So we haven't done I think we've done 1 or 2 arm days together, Ken and I, but we've mainly focused on back and legs. The last few years, I hit everything twice a week. But hitting it twice a week, if you annihilate it every time, you wouldn't recover. So you got to mitigate recovery by having different types of work days. Some are pretty heavy, and some are just about filling the muscle up and feeding it. And so that's kind of like more so what we've been doing with chest and back, the bigger compound muscles, whereas like shoulders and arms kind of get a little bit of different work just because they're more in, like we call accessory muscles, So, but it's worked well. I mean, like my chest, I was probably pressing some of the heaviest weight I have, and it came quick. I think that's why I kind of get a little beat up, because it came so quick that by both my growth and my strength, that then my connective tissue doesn't recover as fast. And that's pretty much just with anyone, just because that tissue doesn't have as much vascularity, it doesn't get the blood flow to it, so it doesn't recover like muscle tissue does. So it takes a little bit longer for it to kind of catch up to the gains, So it's worked well. It's just now we're winding down. I'm trying to let my body heal and recover, and some of the aches and pains I have in my connective tissue. So when I start prep here in about 7 weeks, that I could be 100% and hit it, full throttle without having to work around anything. So.
How's it been, bud, being now as more bodybuilders slowly slip into men's physique, or now classic physique, and you're probably one of the 8 to top 10 biggest guys in Michigan now, especially with the added size you keep putting on. What's it like for you, like everyday life and stuff? Like, have people noticed more? Like we were talking about that earlier, like people come up and stuff. Like, what's that like?
Yeah.
Psychological impact on you, I guess.
Right. It is kind of weird, especially because, always remembering back from before I started, you always looking at those kind of people, as you come up, and now you start to become one of those people, and then, God willing here, and however long it takes, that I'm also at the next level of looking up to pros and stuff, and who knows how far I'm going to be blessed enough to go, So you always kind of stop and look at how it's surreal in a way. It doesn't feed my ego. I don't really give a shit about what people say. It's just you step back and realize you've become the thing that you've been trying to become for so long. And it's a little weird, but, as you kind of dream of being at a certain point, you dream of being pro or whatever, that's like my dream right now. You kind of prepare yourself mentally of how you're going to act, how you're going to be when you finally get there. So now that I'm kind of getting to that point where I'm getting kind of that weird recognition for being bigger, it's it is a little weird, but it's in a way, you should expect it, because you planned, my goal in the beginning was to be here someday. So it's not like a surprise or anything. So I don't know, just roll with it. You get some weird people that say I don't get anything rude, which rarely, at least not to my face. I'm sure there's stuff behind my back, but it doesn't matter to me. But I'll get weird comments of people just ask me stuff like I said, weird arm wrestling comments, or what do you lift, or I don't know, just weird comments. People come up to you and just you don't know what to say. You're just like, all right. And it's really not like general conversation, like nice conversation about training. It's just weirdos being like, oh man, your arms are so big. Can I poke them? Or, it's just ridiculous stuff. It's not even intelligent conversation. So you just kind of roll with it, laugh, smile until they walk away. And then you're like, geez. But it's not, I don't know, not a big deal to me. To some people, I think that's why the industry gets a bad name, because some people, like, they do this for that reason. And I feel like you give them a little bit of attention, it goes straight to their head, and that,
Well, then some of them act like dicks, too.
Or that, yeah.
Which is even worse, because if you get, like, that big, and then you go around acting like a hard ass, and then you act like a dick when people come up to you, then it makes you even look like more of an ass.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, in a way, it's like, I don't know. It's like leadership qualities. You give someone a little bit of power, or, recognition, or set them apart from someone else, and they like abuse that and like become a dick to people, or think they're better than people, or, you know what I mean? And it's like you're just not representing yourself or others who are like you in a very good way. So.
It's still just bodybuilding too. I mean,
yeah, like we were saying, it's just bodybuilding. It's nothing special. I mean, anyone has the ability to do it. I think that's what sets a lot of people apart. It's just not everyone does it, so you look so different. Then you're seen as so different from other people. But I mean, it's just eating and lifting weights, and that's all it is. It's nothing. You're not changing the world. You know what I mean? But it is cool to kind of motivate other people and spread the inspiration, so you could kind of show the people what they're capable of doing if they were to want to do it and pursue that kind of stuff.
Probably get to their level where they'd be good at.
Right, or even stuff outside the gym. I mean, there's other sports or other athletes that I find admirable, but it's nothing I would ever want to do. But the fact that they took their craft and took it to their highest potential, like, that's inspiring for you to do whatever you want to do in your field, and take it to that. So that stuff's cool, but I'm usually friendly about it. Sometimes I'm in a bad mood, not in the off season, but when I'm prepping and wake up, like I tell people, you wake up miserable or hungry and irritable. You come to the gym hungry, irritable. You go to bed hungry and irritable, and then you wake up and you do it again and again and again. But I don't ever try to like show it or take it out on other people, because
never really bitch about it.
Yeah, because it's my own. Yeah, it's my own struggle. It's my own problems. Like, why should anybody else have to fucking deal with my problems? And I chose to be in this situation. So, and like I said, if you in the mindset, if I were to ever become a pro or represent a company, like, can you imagine how Phil Heath or Jay Cutler or Kai or anybody who walks out in public, like all the people that know them, what they have to put up with? I mean, this is just my home gym and people I've seen their faces all the time, and that's another reason why you don't want to be a dick to anyone, because you see them all the time. Like, you don't want to become that guy. So if I were to ever want to become pro, it's a good time to practice that patience. You know what I mean? Like, especially on your bad days, like, it's not anybody else's fault. So it's a good learning experience, like, and that's what's cool too. Like, as you've been around longer and longer, you're like you said, people come up and talk to you, and people have their eye on you, so you have to set a good example all the time, because
and someone may be looking at you as like their Phil Heath. Like, in their view, that's what they want to achieve. That's theirs. So
that's what I mean, and not even me. Like, I tell people, like, everyone's like, there's always somebody watching you, whether you might not ever know it. Like, even like, you know what I mean? Even the most basic beginner who is in the gym, they probably have somebody looking up to them, whether it's their little nephew or their little brother or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, and as they advance, there's someone's gonna still be looking up to them, and then that little brother or little nephew is going to follow in the footsteps, and then they're going to have someone following them. There's always somebody, looking up to you, whether you know it or not. So always act like there's eyes on you. So it's all, you're always looking ahead, looking up to someone, but don't forget about who is like behind you and looking up to you. So.
And no matter how big you are, there's always a bigger fish.
Yep, exactly. There always is. Even we talk about like military life experience, or not just physically big, but when you think you've accomplished so much and you think you're the shit in your town because you've done something, there's always somebody somebody's going to be bigger and better than you, and so just stay humble.
In our next video, we'll do a Nick Rhodes reviews The Force Awakens. Let you know.
Oh yeah, I've been catching up on all the. I've seen them all over my lifetime, but I just started watching all the Star Wars, so we're gonna have fun and go catch up on. We'll go watch the newest one.